This is a Team Objection podcast for 1/21/21, episode 468. Dave is in Phoenix. We just saw him recently. If you watch the FIFA videos that are coming up this weekend, you'll see he was here, but he no longer is here, and we're all a little bit glad about it.
But I had to call him immediately because I have some hot takes I need to share with him.
And he couldn't fit them into one weekend, and so we had to do it now.
Yeah. The hot take, the weekend was full of hot takes, but I have some more that I have to go over.
The weekend was full of hot takes, mostly that Among Us is okay in a group, horrible to play by yourself if you just try to play online with random people, because that's awful. I tried. It's
That's
bad.
true. That's true. That was fun. We played Among Us for the first time.
Yeah.
We're really on the hot trends.
Yeah. It's only, 6 months in-ish?
Yeah, somewhere like
It's
it's been a while.
It's at least one full fad behind. Maybe two now. I know like Fall Guys was after Among Us.
It's not as bad as being like, we just played Fortnite for the first time. But it's along the same lines.
Because I never have.
And I never will.
No, I never have either. Have you guys tried this new thing called Angry Birds?
Yeah, exactly.
So the birds are angry and you shoot them at stuff.
Here's the twist. There's pigs involved.
I actually don't understand Angry Birds as well. I feel like Angry Birds was at the top of the casual game peak, and I feel like while still a market, it's not like the doom and gloom of a few years ago where people thought there's going to be no more AAA games. It's all going to be casual.
I think Candy Crush was the closest thing we came to doom and gloom with that.
Well, it was worse than Angry Birds, but like that was all like at the height. Like, why spend a bunch of money on cinematics and all that 3D graphics when you can just have 2D birds?
I love that argument. It's like, why spend $60 at one time for a 100-hour game when you can spend $2 a day every day for a year for
Exactly.
Which is so stupid.
Or you can play the newest stuff, which has replaced a lot of the casual gaming, which is all the gotcha things, where it's like, why pay $60 for one game when you could pay hundreds for another game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I never got into that fad, so yeah.
Anyways, Among Us was pretty good. Not really my type of game, but it was fun. And I'm glad we played it as a group. And it was nice because it was either $5 or free. Hard to argue with either one of those.
We also did basketball, and I feel like we've teased this on the show before, that we are going to post basketball as content, but it's never really worked because we're not out there like clowning around. We're actually just like trying to play, to our mediocre abilities. So it's never really worked out, except we took, we videoed the games from two different cameras. One was a backup. Meaning we have two different angles, and Dave has volunteered to splice it together. So
once you give me your
once I share it with them,
yeah.
So there's a chance that we will have a basketball video that we can post.
2022.
Just a chance. I'm just saying. It's a chance now where there was no chance before. That's all I'm saying. It's no guarantee. Write us if you really want it. I mean, by all means.
Send me a few bucks via our non-existent Patreon, and I'll work harder on it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll put it behind the paywall.
Yeah, we'll start an OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. An OnlyFans. You want some hot basketball action?
Well, are their shirts off? No.
I like the idea of like, I do want hot basketball action, and then they click and they're like, wait, this is actually just basketball.
Talk about the old bait and switch.
But other than the NBA in college, it's about as competitive as you're going to get right now.
Yeah, that's true.
High school.
And I mean, what more fun could there be than than watching the three people that you listen to battle to the death in basketball?
I blocked Shaun once. That was great.
More than once. Twice. You kept talking about twice. I can't believe you just only said once.
Well, I was most proud of the three that I blocked. That may or may not be on.
And maybe 3 times. There was like a partial in there. Chris got a few in,
Yeah. I never got blocked once by Shaun, like ever. No. Nope, never once.
Sir, we don't need to talk about that. Never happened.
What's your hot takes?
I have a lot of them, Dave. And I am fresh. I am like an hour removed from my freshest hot take. I think The Last of Us 2 is amazing.
Oh no.
That's my hot take. I think it is a wonderful. It is almost flawless.
I don't think that's a hot take.
Well, it depends who you.
I'll just say it's an extremely hot take for about half of video game fandom, and an extremely boring take for the other half because everybody else lavished praise on this like it was the best game ever made.
But what does that tell you about the state of the game? When I felt like going into this, it's a hot take that I loved it. It got a lot, but you know how it works. Critically, it did well, but there is a woman protagonist who's beefy, and a woman protagonist who's a lesbian, and a trans character. So that's that part of the internet. And then there's a lot of people like, I don't like when my favorite characters die. And then that's another part.
That's a more valid criticism, I believe.
Sure.
Absolutely. But I was going into it thinking I will probably like this. I liked the first one. I did not love it. I didn't think it was quite worth all the praise that it got. And about halfway through this one, I had the same feelings. But then there's a big shift. There's a change in perspective. And I just thought, I'm trying to talk about this without going too heavy into spoilers because I would like Dave to play it at some point.
Is this going to be a situation where I need to play the first one like Red Dead Redemption?
Honestly, it would help.
Yeah.
If you absolutely don't have the time or don't want to, you would be fine playing this one. You'd be missing a little bit of the context of the relationship between two of the main characters. That's pretty big.
And in one way, he might actually be better off not having played the first.
And in another, yeah. And that's...
Which I can't really go into more.
Maisie, Chris, had that... I don't remember if I told you. She had that exact perspective. Maisie came in not really knowing a lot of the background, so not forming the same attachments, and actually found one of the characters who's getting a lot of hate like extremely sympathetic and was rooting for this character the whole time.
Mm-hmm. I could see it.
Interesting.
But
it's fine to have a fresh perspective on that because I'm thinking of like Red Dead 2, how different your perspective on that game would be if you didn't play the first one. So
I think given your limited schedule and the things that you should play that you haven't, you should skip one. I really do.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that one, it is a good story, but what's nice about 2 is the gameplay is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay in 1 is a little rough.
That's not bad. I wouldn't say it's a criticism of the first game, but it's above average at best. And you know what? If you really like 2, you could go back to 1.
Yeah.
I don't think 1 is so far removed from 2. I mean, yes, the gameplay is worse, but like if you're really into 2 and you really like it, you can still get something out of the relationships and the characters of 1, but that way you won't have wasted your time. Well, if you slog through 1, if 1's not really your kind of cup of tea to begin with and you have to slog through it, you might not even want to play 2.
So I'm playing with fire, basically. But it sounds like something I would like to play. I mean, the graphic level, the level of graphics, I mean, just from the previews I've seen, look incredible.
Oh my god, all the acting is so good. The physical acting, the voice acting.
Mocap works excellent.
Yeah.
If you give me a good story, that's really going to suck me in for the most part. So.
Well, that's what's interesting. The first one, there's a lot of like cute moments. Their relationship is really good, but like for the story, there was no like bold decisions that I was just floored by until the very, very, very end. And I mean, you would almost be fine just Googling what that one plot point is rather than spending 20 hours playing the game for that one moment. It's huge. It's very well done. It's extremely conflicting, which is what I like about it.
You can argue that the whole first game can be boiled down to like 2 to 3 paragraphs. Which you can do with anything, right? Like a Mario game, you could do easily. Yeah. But, this is a narratively focused game. And the major stuff hits well. There's a lot of interesting moments, but the stuff in between is largely forgettable.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And, I read a lot of this, like it's torture porn. It's,
I said
this,
that.
It's that. Oh, you said it too.
Misery porn, excuse me. Misery porn.
And I will say it is bleak. It is intense, but it never veered into that territory for me because it felt very purposeful in the message they were trying to tell. They went in with a point. There's a thesis statement of the game. And I think that everything that happens, the change in perspective, the violence where like these aren't just NPCs, like in Grand Theft Auto. There's a million of them. Kill them to your heart's content.
They just spawn more.
Yeah, it's like it wants you to feel like you're killing people and that it's not fun to do this, and you're not supposed to relish in, oh my God, did you see that guy's head pop? It's very gritty and it's very intense, and sometimes it's hard to watch, but it all serves the narrative and serves the purpose. And I think because of that, it's so well done.
You know, I actually felt, to make a comparison, Fallout 4 suffered from that a little bit because it looked so realistic in so many ways. And then there was times you could aim the VATS and literally have some guy's head pop like 50 feet in the air. And you're like, oh, that doesn't feel real. Like, I'm supposed to be immersed in this realism of this irradiated world. And, oh, that guy's head flew 50 feet. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's suffered from there. So I if that's the case, I appreciate that when they make it seem like it's a difficult choice to kill somebody, but you have no other choice.
And if anything, Fallout 4 was weird because it almost tried to be more serious in a series that has never really banked on that. You know, I mean, yes, there are serious moments and the whole setting is kind of bleak overall, but there's also this humor and this lighthearted nature and the campy 50s style voiceovers that don't take anything seriously. So then, like in 3, when you shot a guy in slow motion and his head popped off and he made this like really slow noise, like as it happened, like that was just kind of funny. You're like, ha, that's great. And then in 4, as they were trying to be like more serious with the story, it just didn't feel like that resonated as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is, you're not supposed to enjoy it. It's not supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to impact you and the characters that you're playing as, and it clearly does. And it's all the ending, Dave. I will admit this. I'm not proud of this fact, but I'm going to be totally honest. I'm playing to the end. I have about, well, I thought I was very close. Turns out I had another 4 hours to go, but I had to look up the ending. It was so intense. I know. It was so intense I couldn't handle it. And I was like, I'm not prepared for where this is going to go. And I had to do it.
I'm disappointed in you.
You should be, but I'm trying to say it's a testament to how excellent it is.
Fair, and it is a game that I've seen frequently and would be like, yes, this is something I definitely want to play.
I think you'd like it.
I agree.
Although I think you'd like it. And you know what? It's not the game's fault that it came out at maybe the worst time possible, because video games as escapism has never been stronger than it has been the last 10 months for me. Because it's the same thing with Ozark. I think I would actually really like Ozark. I've heard excellent things about it. I know you guys watched season 1. I'm not going to watch that show right now because I have enough bullshit in my day-to-day life that's a downer that I don't want that right now for my side media. I don't need to feel tense and wondering what's going to happen next because that's my fucking job. So when Last of Us 2 dropped in the middle of this pandemic, I was like, nope. Not happening right now. Sorry. Like, I'm not going to be playing all like light, fluffy games. I don't mind a little bit of challenge, but I don't need something that's like relentlessly intense and anxiety inducing.
It is relentless. And really, Dave, without spoiling too much, I think because it's kind of the way in 1, it's just kind of how the game was marketed. The thesis is like, I forget exactly what the quote is, but basically, if you're going for revenge, dig 2 graves. And that's The Last of Us 2. It's not supposed to be fun or,
whimsical.
Well, it is fun, but it's not supposed to be like, oh, this is like, yeah, whimsical. Oh, I have a great feeling inside. I feel warm inside. At least I hope, or you might have some problems.
Yep.
This was the game that the article was written. Games need to return to black and white morality. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Whoa, come on.
I could not disagree fucking more with that statement. Although I will say, to Chris's point, let's have a market where, you have some challenging games and then you have some like, thank you, special delivery.
Yeah.
Some fun games, Animal Crossing and everything in between, but let's make it a diverse place that's good for everybody.
Right. And I don't even mind some RPGs going down the black and white road because I almost feel like we've done too many complicated motive villains now to the point where it's become staid. Boring almost, unless they're really well done. And there certainly are examples of that. But now it's like, sometimes I don't mind just having a guy that I hate. I don't need to then find out that he had some kind of tragic thing happen in his past that made him this way. Sometimes it's fine to hate something. So to the point, it's just basically, keep the diversity of storytelling. We don't need all black and white. And I also don't need nuance in every single character that's ever written.
Yeah.
Why do I like Cobra Kai? Because some of those characters are one note, but the one note's really well done.
I feel like Shido in Persona 5 was a bit of that, like, okay, we're just going to hate this guy. There's no reason not to hate this guy. He's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, and it's fine to learn more, like learning more about the person. Thanos, for example, I feel like you go back to him a lot, but he kind of just headlined a recent huge movie. If you squint really hard, you can kind of understand why he's doing what he's doing. And there's some honor in the way that he does stuff, but you're never like, oh, I actually am rooting for this guy. I totally understand. I'm on his side. So, yeah, it's nice to just have something that everyone can rally against.
So your second hot take was hotter than your first hot take.
No.
Yes. Because when I'm looking up a review, and IGN, now granted it's IGN and they give 10s to everything, they did rate this 10 out of 10.
Well,
so saying that you enjoy it is not that hot of a take.
No,
Well,
but
it's the critical versus the individual.
Yeah.
The critical response was overwhelmingly positive. I think it's a small part of why the backlash against it was so strong, was that people didn't like the representation the game had, or its tone, or the choices they made with the story, and they kept seeing this lavished praise, and they went, well, fuck that. This can't be like one of the best games ever made, so I'm going to rally against it. But there was certainly a huge, I wouldn't even call it a vocal minority. If anything, it could have been the vocal majority against this game, along with all the people who really loved it and the critics who all gave it really high marks.
I mean, the narrative played me like a fiddle, Dave. I will tell you, they got me to hate someone as much as the main character. And they wanted you to do that. And then they were like, okay, we're going to pause for a moment. Now we're going to have you explore maybe some other sides. And like it worked. My hate started to diminish and I started to be like, oh, like this is really interesting. And yeah, I mean, I credit the writing team other than a epilogue that I think went on a little too long for what was essentially the same point, but like less nuanced. So I didn't love that, but everything else I absolutely loved.
If it went right up your alley, I can only imagine that somebody's family was killed. Because that's your narrative you set up every single time for every story ever.
Well, I mean, we can't talk about it a ton.
I think I got it right. By his silence, I think I got it right.
You're 90% right.
What you can't see, if you're listening, is I just took a really long sip of my drink in response to Dave.
I wouldn't actually mind seeing a little bit more of protagonist switches in games too.
Not saying that happens, but
no, definitely not.
It does. It's okay. I understand.
That's what it makes it so divisive for some people, though. To which I never understood. But then again, I go back to defending Metal Gear Solid 2, which was one of the first biggest examples of that. And I think it's great. And I'm like, why don't we let the storytellers tell the story they want to tell? And if it sucks, then we can judge at that point. But if it's well done, we should not be able to mandate this is how you're going to tell the story. This is who we want to see.
I have never been able to figure out when people almost demand that certain things are made the way they want to, because it sounds, I guess, elitist, but like you have the choice not to play this. If you don't like it, you can stop. I've had quite a few games that I've started playing and been like, nope, this just isn't for me. And been fine with it. I'm not going to take to the internet to say how terrible this was because I didn't like it when someone else might have.
Yeah.
I think that just speaks to the whole social media platform in general, though.
Yes.
When we were kids, if we rented a game from Blockbuster we didn't like, it wasn't like, well, I'm going to go tell everybody about this. It was, well, that sucked. We'll try again next weekend,
Yeah.
I agree, Dave. I just think it's a slippery slope of, it's nice to be surprised and challenged. And if everyone just made the game exactly how you wanted it or told the story exactly how you wanted it, there wouldn't really even be a need to tell the story in the first place. Or maybe you could just do it. I mean, like, there's a reason people should tell the story that they want to tell.
Well,
unless it's in the case of the 100 and you decide to shit all over your fans in the last episode, then...
I mean, if there's malice behind it where you're like, look, we know this is what people want and we know this is how we were planning on doing it, but since we know this is what they want, we're going to change it just to screw you.
It felt that way.
I just watched people going through like Final Fantasy VII Remake, though, and it's like, even for a short time, sometimes it can be effective. The amount of excitement I saw when you got to control, say, Tifa was like, oh, cool, and it wasn't for very long. I mean, Cloud's the protagonist, and it doesn't change very much, but even just for moments, it can be really effective. I wish... especially RPGs would dabble with it a little bit more.
Well,
Hmm.
I don't. Maybe I look at games a little differently than some people, but like for the most of it, I look at games as a movie that I'm watching. But I get to make some choices in the movie. You know, obviously I've got a track I'm following, and I'm going to get to a point that leads me along this track. But I have a lot of different things I can do among that time. So if I'm following the story of the movie, I'm going to enjoy the story of the movie and see where it takes me, not be pissed off that it didn't take me where I wanted it to take me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense, and I agree with you. Except I would say, and this isn't really what you even meant, but it just triggered something of which is a word that has taken on a different meaning now.
Mm-hmm.
The idea, what I don't like in games, and it's Uncharted does this a lot, and which is another game by Naughty Dog, which is funny, is like they take your comparison, Dave, to like the extreme, where there are some set pieces where you're going through this crazy set piece and your inputs are almost like limited, or it's like one button push to go to the next cutscene. And I don't really like that choice as much in games. I like it when they give you the canvas, but you still have most of your capabilities, and then you get to kind of fill it in. Resident Evil 4 is a great example. Like all the quick time events at the time was pretty cool, and now I'm like, I hate this. Please skip this. Just give me the part where I'm actually getting to play the game.
Yeah, and I agree. There is a fine balance when it comes to that. Because you're right. Resident Evil 4, I love the quick time events, but it was really, really frustrating when it's like, okay, I'm just hitting these buttons to make the movie go forward, and if I fail, oops, I died, and now I got to do it again.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yeah.
This is
And
a waste of time.
there's a disconnect. I wrote an article about this. Chris may remember, but probably not, because he has read millions, literally, of articles in his career. But
Ugh.
I did an anti-QuickTime article because it seemed like a cool idea, but then what you're really doing is almost like a disconnect between the scene and you. You're not looking at all the cool stuff that's happening. You're like, your eyes are glued for when is the X button going to pop up? When am I going to have to press something? And then in RE4, when you fail, you just have to do it all over again. It's anti-immersive.
Yeah, you're right. It's because you lose the meaning of it because you're so worried about missing a button.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
It's a subtitle problem for me.
Yeah,
in Kingdom Hearts, am I looking down at the bottom left by that menu to see if there's going to be a triangle prompt show up, or am I looking at the main part of the screen to see what's happening in front of me?
Yep.
All right. Well, that was hot take 1.5.
I mean, I can open if you guys have a hot take, I mean, I want to hear it for sure.
No, I respond to your hot takes. That's what I do in life.
That's my role.
We I only have one like kind of big hot take. Another one I'm going to save. But I'll dig into the second one. So we were doing board games recently. We did it with you and Courtney this weekend. We do a thing where we play Gloomhaven with people. We figured out a way to do it online, which is really cool. And it's just got me thinking. And I think Settlers of Catan might be the most overrated game ever of all time. Because it's not very good.
I've only played it once and it was fine. But I agree, it is like the most well-known modern board game. You know, obviously there's the ones from the past of the Monopolies, the Saris, that type of thing. But I feel like Settlers of Catan was like the most well-known one out in popular culture.
I was hoping you were going to have Nick's viewpoint, because I know, like, Nick, it's like his favorite game. Or it's way up there, Chris.
I think that's probably changed now, but he's also had the chance to go through some of Gloomhaven. He's had the chance to play Pandemic Legacy.
I mean, yeah, I played the original Pandemic, which I liked more. Seven Wonders that we just played, which I liked more. Last Night on Earth, which I liked more. There's a bunch of board games I played that I liked more than Settlers of Catan.
I thought this was going to be a hotter take. Everybody's like, I love Settlers of Catan. It's like the go-to board game for everybody.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's the one that people who don't really know anything about board games go to because it's the most popular.
There's not a lot of skill involved in it.
Yeah.
And it's accessible. So it's not hard to see why it became so popular so quickly, especially because it was an early leader in the trend of bringing European board games to the States. I mean, I don't know about the most overrated. I think there are other board games that I've played that are worse in that department. I think Monopoly is probably number one on my list for that. because Monopoly is all the dumb luck of Settlers of Catan without the pleasant setting and lighthearted tone.
I love Monopoly. That's
I mean,
my
I don't
hot
have a
take.
problem with Monopoly as a game overall, but there's some people that are like gung-ho about it. We're going to play this. We're going to do these rules. We're going to go for 5 hours. And I'm like, no, we're not playing. I'm not playing one game of Monopoly for 5 hours. I'm not doing that with my life.
Well, and it's the same problem I have with Catan, though. It's like, what skill, really? If you put in enough rules, sure. But at its base, what skill is there in Monopoly? You land on a space, like, you buy it. There's not like, oh, should I buy it now? You have to buy it. If you don't, you're done. Like, and then it dice rules.
That's actually the rules. No, a lot of people don't know that. You have to buy it. Like there's no you don't have the option not to buy it.
Yeah.
Monopoly.
So if I want to play like a dice roll, I'll do like Yahtzee. It's quick. It's pretty fun. It's over fast, and I mean that's fine. Settlers of Catan is the same thing. You can have the greatest strategy in the world. I feel like I have a couple different games. I was like, this is going so well. I'm on the fast track, and then my 2 highest odds numbers are never rolled again. What the fuck am I supposed to do then? 8 hasn't been rolled in 6 years. It's the highest odds other than 7.
Well, your hot takes so far are pretty agreeable on this panel, at least, which is not so hot, buddy. Probably about as hot as that
I
shake.
think you guys are going to have a lot more to say. I feel pretty good with The Last of Us 2 one still. I also love Abby. I love Abby. Just to add that in. That it all kind of contributes in this package that makes The Last of Us 2 kind of a hot take. Catan, I thought it was going to be hotter. I thought you guys really like Catan.
No, I do like Catan. I think it's an excellent way to introduce people to board games because you can't get someone to sit down and play Pandemic Legacy as the first board game they're exposed to. It won't resonate with them because they have no basis of comparison, and its strategy is going to be too intricate, and the legacy details are going to be brand new to them. So I'd much rather play like Settlers of Catan than almost any traditional board game. Like, I don't have any interest in Sorry. I'm not that excited by Trouble.
That's fair if you're looping Catan in with those like first tier board games.
Chutes and Ladders is even more luck based than Catan.
Yeah.
Candyland is actually predetermined who's going to win when you shuffle the deck.
Yeah. Tic-tac-toe is a draw every time. Connect 4 is stupid. There's all these other really older ones. I mean, sure. I mean, game design evolved since then, just like it has in video games. It did in board games too. They became more intricate, more layered, more strategical. So I don't really have any hate towards Catan. I do think it is slightly overrated, but I also don't think that the people who really, really love it have exposed themselves to other games of different types that they would probably enjoy.
What he
That's
said.
fair. That's fair. That's all I had. Those are my 2 hot takes.
I'm cold, man.
I have one more. If you guys want,
All right.
I have one more.
Oh, sure.
Hit me.
I didn't come prepared. I've been working all day.
I have one more. So
I was not ready.
the problem is I kind of had a little bit of context for the first 2, and this one I don't have any context. I kind of think the Beatles suck.
If there's a hot take.
That's my hot take. I
Waited
think
29 minutes for this.
And the other problem was I also used the word overrated with them, and I use it for Catan, so I wanted to separate them. But here we are. I think they are not that good. I think they're overrated. And
Well, here's the problem with this one, though, because with Settlers of Catan, you have a contemporary audience. So the question then is, overrated by whom? Because I don't think you're going to find millennials who are like, yeah, man, the Beatles are awesome. They're the best. I think their songwriting is super nuanced. So, like, you're either talking about people that were our age or younger when the Beatles were a phenomenon at a time when songwriting wasn't anywhere near the level it is today, or younger people like us who either don't care about them or never will.
Well, rather than like an age demographic, I'll just say anyone who thinks that the Beatles are the GOAT of music, I have news for you. They actually are not that good.
Well, the problem with the Beatles is not so much, man, their songwriting is they're the best musicians we've ever seen. They're the best songwriters we've ever seen. Their cultural impact is what makes them the greatest, of what changed in the way that songs were made. Literally, they changed everything about how songs were produced.
And that's and that's fine, but like I still look for something more like in my music. Like they were revolutionary for their sound. Okay, fine. I'm sure, back in the prehistoric era, banging 2 coconuts was like revolutionary, but it's not doesn't mean I want to go listen to it.
Yes, it still affects how today was, though. How today works.
But then again, like Mario is like, you could say the same thing. Our games, you know, they're much more advanced now, but like, Siri, get out of here. But I still enjoy the first Mario. There are elements of it that I still think, wow, that's really excellent. When I don't enjoy even listening to them. When they're on the radio, I turn it off. I'm like, ugh, too much.
Not a single song?
No. I really like Let It Be. I think Let It Be is excellent.
See, that's one of my lesser, like,
I
songs.
think all the shit where it's like strawberry fields and a yellow submarine, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm sure there's some metaphor in here that I would understand better if I was on drugs, but I'm not, so I don't get it.
No, the problem is that there was a lot of drugs happening, and so there is no metaphor. There is no real, like, there's nothing behind it.
I mean, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds it is just LSD, right?
Yeah. I like actually their older songs, just like Can't Buy Me Love or I Want to Hold Your Hand. Like those I actually like more than anything else out of their.
It's okay. I mean, you know, it's okay. The problem is compounded for me when we go to that museum, which I feel bad. I love that whole trip. It was super fun. I did not like sitting in the dark, looking at the strobes to Beatles music. I also hate. I think. Oh my God, what's the name of the movie? I want to say Above, Beyond the Universe,
Across.
I knew it was an A. It might be one of my most hated movies I've ever seen. I think it's trash. I think it's like the loosest connections you could find to weave a Beatles musical together. There was no thought really.
Was that the one where the guy woke up and the universe of the Beatles didn't exist and he stole all their songs?
No,
that's a different one.
That seemed interesting. This is like
I never did watch that.
I heard it actually, like, the hook was very good, and it wasn't a very good movie, which I was kind of disappointed about. Across the Universe, some people are like, that's my favorite movie. And I am like, are you blind? This movie sucks. Think of the most, like, obvious set for a Beatles song that would be in a musical, and this movie exactly did that.
Yeah, that doesn't seem.
And yet it's all disconnected because it's a discog. It's worse than Mamma Mia.
But not worse than Mamma Mia 2.
I couldn't tell you.
I don't like ABBA, so Mamma Mia overall is no good for me.
ABBA's okay. I did a routine to ABBA, and so I like them a little bit more now. But
hot take, I'd take the Beatles over ABBA. There's my hot take.
ABBA has about 10 songs I like more than anything from the Beatles.
Wow.
10.
Can't think of a single thing in ABBA that I like more.
What ABBA songs have you actually heard? Because if it's only Dancing Queen, that's strike one.
What about Fernando, Dave?
Dancing Queen's actually not that good.
No. It's amazing how some bands, with their best song, their most well-known song is one of their worst.
Yeah, I mean, that happens across the board, right? I mean, we can think of other examples of that too. Or there's other ones where nothing stands out. Or they're super formulaic, kind of like the Beatles were. Yeah. Like, look, there's a couple Hoobastank songs I still like, but the more you listen to them and you realize that every single song of theirs is the exact fucking same, the more you kind of go, well, maybe I actually don't like this group.
Look, there's that one song that was based on Final Fantasy VII, which I still like.
Oh, yeah. What's the song called? Remember Now?
Remember Me.
Remember Me.
Oh, I like that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the chorus. I just remember the title.
Yep. If you listen to the lyrics, it's like, oh, shit, this is about Cloud and Sephiroth. Who knew?
Yeah, and you can go ahead and reapply that now that Sephiroth's in Smash because he's been popping up all over the place again. So you can go put a late 90s song to the new videos, and it'll still be just as appropriate.
Do you remember now?
Yeah. But seriously, if you haven't ever taken a deep dive, I know a lot of songs do this, but every single Hoobastank song is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Every single one. Even The Reason, which is different from most of their other songs, is still the same thing.
And they all sound, I mean, like, it's the same structure, but they also sound pretty similar, too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that starts to be. I got their album because I liked, like you said, a couple of the songs, and then I'm like, oh, it's kind of like it's pretty samey. I don't know.
Album 1 was good. Album 2 has a couple songs I like quite a bit, and then I've pretty much fallen off the wagon ever since.
I didn't even know if they had any past the second one because that's all I got.
Linkin Park started to do that for me too. Some of their later albums were like this. I couldn't tell you the difference between like song 3 and song 7.
Mm-hmm.
It all just kind of is a malaise.
It's weird too because people expect bands to sound the same. So sometimes with a band like, say, Muse, who goes all over the place sometimes, then it's like, oh, we like the way you used to sound. Why don't you still sound like you did on those earlier albums? And then you have a group that gets repetitive, and you're like, why don't you guys change it up more? Which just basically goes to show you nothing pleases anybody, and to try so is futile.
And the lesson of life is do what you want for the most part, and gauge it. Go from there, pretty much. You can't change yourself.
You know, it's weird. Republican radio uses I need a second to think about what song, but it's a Linkin Park song. And it's one of their like main bumps, and it's only like the intro, so you almost wouldn't even know. But I know my Linkin Park. It's absolutely them. And I was just thinking, what? Did they consent to this? I can't imagine they would be like super right wing. But
is it numb because Republicans are numb to the feelings of others?
No.
How does it go?
It's like it's the for one part it goes like. And then
no.
I want to feel. I want to like I thought was never real. But it's the intro to that song.
That's the first song off the second album, right? So Somewhere I Belong. That's song 1 off album 2.
Definitely the second album. I believe you said song 1.
I think so.
Republican. I've heard it many times. It's like it's the intro, but it's extended, and then it ends when the disc starts, and then it cuts out before any voices actually start singing. But
I mean, if the paycheck is good enough, and the song doesn't exactly serve as a ringing endorsement for anything, because it's just an intro. It's not like it's tied to your lyrics or something. I don't know if I fault them for that. I'll use the opening 8 measures of our song. But sure, I guess. I'll do anything for $30 million.
I imagine that also they might have a contract with the record producers. So they're like, all right, we're going to use a clip of whatever this list of songs is. So I don't know how much Linkin Park actually had.
I don't even know if they know it's Linkin Park. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, this is cool. It sounds cool. Let's use it. But I had that thought because it was interesting. I heard a commercial for My Pillows. I heard, and I swear to you, I hear the commercial. I was like, I wonder if this is like a political thing, or like if it's not, like ads on this radio. Is it like super political? And then like today, I read an article that like Kohl's is no longer selling My Pillows because the CEO supports the Republican Party. It's like, aha.
And that's going to be, of course, a topic of much debate because each side is willing to boycott the other side as long as it lines up with their political beliefs.
I can't wait until we just literally start painting our faces either red or blue so we don't have to worry about what side we're on. We can just really just make sure that I know who to hate and who to love. And
Dave, be realistic. It wouldn't be painting faces. It would be tattoos.
Or microchips.
Whatever. Look, it was symbolic anyway. This is my point. This is where we're going. Okay, I'm at the last comparison of there's an old Star Trek episode where there was this race where one part of the people had a black side on this side and a white side on this side, and the other side had it flipped, and they hated each other. And none of the crew of the Enterprise understood why. It was like, this is stupid. Like, who cares which side the black is and which side the white is? But they hated each other, and this is kind of how I feel. It's like, who gives a fuck what color your face is?
Well, you're so idealistic.
I am. I want people to understand there's a commonality between us.
It seems like a statement that I was leading somewhere, and not really. I just want to point it out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good quality.
I try.
It's a good quality that is often misconstrued as ingenuine,
or
ungenuine, not genuine.
Or just ignorant, which I don't like.
No, I don't. I don't think so. And also, I think it is genuine. But
we also know that Dave is good at being disingenuous because we saw him play Among Us.
I'm not very good at it, actually, because everyone thought,
Well, no, okay. Yeah, that's true. You're not good at being disingenuous. You're good at sounding disingenuous.
yes.
So no matter which side of it you're on, you end up seeming like you're guilty.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got thrown out of the airlock when I was completely innocent, trying to tell everyone that I was completely innocent.
And his
I got thrown
takeaway
out.
from that was to do it to me.
I'll tell you what, though, Dave. You being the imposter 3 times in a row prior to that did not help that round when you actually were innocent, just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I hope we never actually get in this situation in real life, like with the group they're with, because I am dead so fast.
Well, I would not, I would have to think of what situation that would be, because if I was, why would we ever even turn on each other?
Because let's say an alien took over one of our bodies or replaced one of our bodies, type of thing.
Yeah,
And
but
then
it's not even us then.
Well, yeah, no, but if he could act just like me.
Well, if it
Yeah,
was,
well, if you're
sure.
an alien, you're going out into space.
Well, I know, but you got to figure that out. That's the problem.
No, I'm just going to put you out in space anyways.
Yeah, but if it's an alien, it wouldn't even be hard for you anyways. You wouldn't even be doing it. Now, if it was like Courtney and your kids were kidnapped and we need you to be the imposter or they're going to kill your whole family, then we have an issue.
Point is, I'm dead no matter what.
I'm just
That's
imagining
how-
a scenario where it's an alien inside of Dave's body, but it's just basically a caricature of what we used to make fun of Dave for in the early episodes. So he just kind of walks around going like, steak, kids, money. And we're like, yeah, that seems like Dave. I don't see anything wrong with him. It's normal day for Dave. I thought for a minute, but no, he seems fine.
I'm waiting for a response from Dave, but he's just speechless.
Steak.
Oh, it's already happened.
All right, hold on. I can fix this. I don't have as much. There we go. All right, good. Dave has been voted off the ship. He's gone.
That's pretty close to like the.
It's actually mean
stars
if I
in the
do that
background.
because it mutes him too, which is a smart decision by the program, but bad for the audio, especially for the podcast, which doesn't care if you can see Dave or not.
Good. So I'm going to start rambling about QAnon, and Chris just says, click, I'm gone.
I have that power. I could do it to any of us. I could do it to myself, which would be stupid, but I could.
Yeah.
So just remember that next time you say something mean about me, you might go in the airlock.
That's all my hot takes. That's all I came with today.
Alrighty.
Turns out, not that hot, but I really thought I thought the Beatles. I was really in for a fight.
Not with people the same age as you.
Man,
I mean, you got the biggest fight out of me for the sense of I do like a lot of their songs.
I would love to see what Dave's dad would respond with that. I don't even know if he likes the Beatles or not, but he's a musician. He's from a generation that actually cared about the Beatles. So,
But
that's what I was like expecting was like a real fight on like the merits of how game changing they were, because I realized that they were and I was ready. But you guys were like, yeah, I mean, you're kind of right.
I pointed it out in that's the reason why, but I'm not gonna go to my grave saying, man, the Beatles, I could just listen to their songs all day.
I mean, when you think about cultural phenomena, I think both Elvis and Michael Jackson were light years ahead of the Beatles in terms of actual music quality.
But they built on it. That's the reason. So.
Yeah, but I'm not sure either of them were bigger than the Beatles, and they were both huge. So, what are you going to do? Especially because the Beatles have multiple continents they conquered, Mm-hmm. All right, that is the end of this episode, the end of hot/medium takes. We will be back next week with another brand new episode. In between shows, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or at youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos 7 days a week, including maybe basketball, coming soon. We'll see you next time.